Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another episode of the Mike Prince Show. Of course, we come to you each and every day right here from the Open Mic Broadcast Network. Remember, you can follow me on Twitter at Radio Guy. Instagram is Radio Guy 22. The website is obnradio.com. Of course, if you're in the Prairie View community, you can always check us out at 87.9 FM. And if you happen to be on the go, you can check us out anywhere throughout the country by simply dialing 605-477-5066. And without any further ado, we are going to jump right into today's episode. As we promised to try to keep you informed and in tune with what's going on throughout the world of the Southwestern Athletic Conference in particular, we have a very special guest on the line with us on today, all the way from Birmingham, Alabama. It's none other than Brother Edgar Gantt. How you doing today, my friend?
I'm doing well, Mike. I appreciate you having me on this morning.
Well, I appreciate you making yourself available. You are an extremely busy man, and we won't waste your valuable time, and we'll jump right into this thing if it's all right with you.
Let's do it.
All right. Well, first of all, you are not as a mystery as some would like to believe. How about if you start off giving us a little background of who Edgar Gantt is, and then we'll go from there.
All right. Well, again, thank you for having me on. Basically, I've been at the conference office for, a lot of people ask how long my tenure has been. August, it'll be 8 years. And during that time, I came in as when I first got here, came in as the Assistant Commissioner for Compliance, NCAA rules, compliance, governance is my background coming up in the world of collegiate athletics. Let's see, what other information? Happily married, father of two. My son and my daughter definitely keep me busy and on my toes every day. So not only do I get to come and work in the wonderful world of collegiate athletics, but I also go home and begin to coach and be a dad as well in my day-to-day activities outside of the office. But since fall of 2013, I've had the opportunity to serve the conference as the Associate Commissioner. In that role, I've dealt with just about everything dealing with the day-to-day operations. So really overseeing everything with the exception of the money side of it until I took over as the interim commissioner back on January the 2nd.
So once you were able to get into the big boy's chair, if you allow me to identify it as that, what was the greatest contrast from your vantage point, seeing what the assistant was required to do versus what the top man is required to do? Or should I say top person? I want to be politically correct.
Well, the biggest thing was getting an understanding of where we were currently at the time when I first took over. So finding out the other part of the puzzle that I wasn't necessarily privy to. And once I got my hands on that, it's still a work in progress. Obviously, there's going to be a learning curve with anything that you just jump into. That was my biggest adjustment. Once I got an idea on that, from the seat, as you stated, you're really casting a vision because there's a lot of uncertainty during the transition. There's a lot of changes to be expected. And so that was one of the biggest challenges I had, is just really casting that vision and seeing what type of opportunities I can create out of all the transition.
Absolutely, and you hit right on time, man. You can tell you've done this before when you're talking about what opportunities you could create. The biggest splash here of late was the ability to create a reunion, if you would, back in Birmingham by getting established the football championship and the basketball tournaments to come back to Birmingham. If you are allowed, if you could give us how this came to be.
Well, it came about initially just really finding a home for the SWAC basketball tournament. We sent out RFPs to various cities. During the time last June 2017, there was an announcement coming out of our spring meetings that we were going to do away with football championship in the format that everyone kind of come to know and love. We were at NRG Stadium. Great opportunity there over the past couple of years. But that structure was no longer feasible for us. And with as we finished out the that spring meeting heading into the fall, a lot of the athletic directors had a strong sense or feedback as it relates to just keeping this football championship game in its entirety and really looking at the format. So through their vision for what they wanted to see it happen, and in terms of is it going to be on campus or is it going to be a neutral site, and then the council have an opportunity to look over it as well, it was decided that we would allow the SWAC football championship game to remain at a neutral site come this fall 2018. And so, again, everything started with basketball initially from an RFP standpoint, and just so happened that the city of Birmingham, with the leadership of the new mayor, Mayor Woodfin, pursued us as much as us pursuing just trying to get a home for the basketball tournament and put forth a proposal for football. And so with that proposal, we had an opportunity to bring the SWAC football championship game back to Birmingham, where it initially started in 1999, and also bring the SWAC basketball tournament to Birmingham. And both of these championships are two of our high-profile championships that we do every year, and it just so happens that the city of Birmingham, with their partnership, will be here for the 2018-2019 academic year.
Well, that is definitely something that could raise eyebrows and make you go, wow, there's some possibilities of some things. But as always, in the role of leadership, you're going to always have naysayers, and that's just part of it. I don't know why we like leadership positions. I know why we like them, but we don't like everything that comes with it. With that being said, for the naysayer who says, well, why couldn't we have it on campus? That's not necessarily thrown out of the window. It's just for this year it was decided to bring it back to Birmingham. But is there a remote possibility that football championship could be played at the team with the top record?
It is a definite possibility. With that, there comes a lot of challenges that many people don't necessarily consider. In collegiate athletics, especially from a conference office standpoint, you're looking at it, how do you create revenue and opportunities for our student athletes and our coaches to have the quality experience. And one of the big things that come into developing and putting forth that quality experience for our student athletes is venues and opportunities to really get them exposure and allow them to compete to the best of their ability. So the format of it being at a neutral site does two things for us. As fans, it allows you to be able to plan. You know where it's going to be. Sponsorship, you know where it's going to be. You have an opportunity to really engage the community, develop initiatives to make it, and just to really add to what the competition would be for that game or tournament. And then the other part of it is financial assistance from these corporate sponsorships and different things like that. It always, enhances an event when you can bring in a forecasted amount of economic impact, and the city understands what's going on, and then that's where the partnership is able to be developed. And again, the people who are going to stand to gain the most from that are our student athletes, coaches, and our fans.
Once again, we're speaking right now with Edgar Gantt, interim commissioner for the Southwestern Athletic Conference here on the Mike Prince Show. Brother Gantt, I want to ask this question, and it's something that I've been harping on for quite some time. With the geographical locations of the conference schools, you have, to me, what I call an extreme. You have Alabama, then you have Texas, and in between are your Arkansas, Mississippi, and Louisiana schools. Has it ever been considered, and I know that, location is everything, but in order, let's go football first and then we'll talk about basketball. Has it been researched and really analyzed about possibly having your championship locations in either Shreveport or Biloxi, Mississippi, due to travel arrangements? That way, even if my team is not there, I can have enough interest to at least want to hop in the car and be there within a couple of hours?
There has been. That's in terms of keeping in mind the geographical locations of all of our championship events. That's always something that's brought to the forefront and considered. I have visited both Shreveport as well as Biloxi and looking at the opportunities that we would have to bring events there. So I am happy to say that they are on our list of locations to bring many of our championship events to. Talking with all of our coaches and looking at the format, some cities set up better than others in certain opinions, as we talked about. There's always going to be those who like locations, those who don't like locations. But when it comes down to the partnership and the opportunity to really have an economic impact and expand on the experience of our student athletes, we're always looking for those opportunities. And I think that's what we have, at least for this year, as we reassess where we're going to go for the SWAC football championship as well as the basketball tournament.
Now, I have a very simple philosophy on why I say those two but those two cities. Number one, the market, in my opinion, is strong enough to carry our brand. Plus, it's not a lot of oversaturation with other big-time sports. And if you can become the main show in town, I think that's an opportunity to parlay that and make it a long term. A lot of times when we think of corporate sponsors, we're thinking of big known brands, but there are a lot of corporate sponsors in those two locations that have the deep enough pockets to undergird and support the common goal that we're looking at, that is an exciting event that could generate some funding.
You're absolutely right. We are always looking at that. One of the things that I've been asked from those cities in particular is about the vision, the direction that we want to take our championships, events, and contests to. And what do we want those to showcase? What are some of the things that, as a conference, we will request of those cities? And all those things have been answered or questions raised as we've had those conversations with those cities during site visits.
So it's always a plan for the plan, just in case of that. And I'm so glad, man. I'm telling you, talking to you right now, you're a smooth operator when you get these set up questions. Some would think they're softball, and I'm telling you right now, ladies and gentlemen, we have not rehearsed any of this. This man is just flowing from the top of his head, which is going to lead me to a huge hypothetical. Being in the role of leadership as a commissioner, and this is one of those vision questions, how would we be able to survive in the event there are rumblings and jumblings that some schools are thinking about possibly leaving the conference? Is there a plan to keep those that remain together to keep this a thriving and a conference of significance?
That's a great question, for one. There is always a plan in terms of how we should go about it. The biggest question that our membership or member institutions should ask of any place or any league that they're associated with, what are they benefiting out of it? What are they getting out of it? Why the SWAC? And I think as the leadership comes in, again, I'm the interim commissioner, but as any leadership will come in and cast a vision and plan for the future, you're looking at that. How can we become, one, a more viable conference and destination for any of our outside people to want to come into, student athletes, coaches, just institutions, period, to be a part of such a great league such as the SWAC, because we have a lot of potential and we're going places. The next is capitalizing on what we have from a historical standpoint. We're heading into our centennial come 2020. We've been around for 100 years as a historical black colleges and universities. That's huge for the SWAC. And so part of our celebration, our branding for the future, we're looking at that. And in turn, we're trying to give as much as we can back in terms of support to our member institutions so that they can sustain, increase enrollment, facilities. It's an arms race when you look at it from the collegiate landscape. Location's everything, partnerships are everything, and just the involvement with the conference office and the members across our league. Again, you said and as you know, we span from Alabama all the way over to Texas. That's a big part of who we are. And so just the branding of our league and the celebration of our league is going to be huge to making that impact, so that way we are the most attractive option for our member institutions currently, and then also looking to expand potentially with others.
Very good. Once again, we're speaking with Edgar Gantt of the Southwestern Athletic Conference. I am the radio guy, the Dr. Mike Prince, right here on the Open Mic Broadcast Network and the Mike Prince Show. I'm appreciating this, and I'm pretty sure our listeners are going to be appreciating this as well. I have a couple more questions if you got time, sir, but I'm truly enjoying the getting to know you of Brother Gantt. Even though I've been knowing you for quite some time, we've never really had a chance to sit down and indulge as we are right now. So I'm thoroughly appreciating this. It was going to lead me to this is an observation. We know it's all about that experience that we talked about, and we've played with the basketball format for a couple of times, and with the fact, I'm excited that if you're bringing it back to Alabama, and from my understanding, the venue that this would be a place of 5,000 people or so, and which I think is a good size. It's not overwhelming or overwhelming, I should say, as it were in Toyota Center. That's my personal opinion. Love the experience, love the atmosphere, but it was too big of a venue. And I know someone that might be listening right now, well, we got to think big. Yeah, thinking big is great, but thinking logically is so much better and effectively, especially when it comes to the bottom line and your pocketbooks. With that being said, is there a possibility that all 10 schools would be invited to the conference for basketball tournament with a little twist? If you got 5,000 seating capacity, each school will be responsible for 300 ticket sales, and then you leave the rest to that open area, say for Birmingham, and you market that area to assure sellouts and bottom line generate funding for that tournament event.
Another good question, Mike. We have looked at that, and as you stated in the past, we've had a format, very similar venue set up between 5,000 to 7,000. When we were in Garland, matter of fact, in Texas, we had all 10 member institutions show up. We do want to make it a quality experience for all of our student athletes. So when you're just looking at the facility and the venue, as you stated, we want to make sure that our student athletes get the experience, get that championship experience where you just have people, I guess where you create the atmosphere. You can't really hear yourself out there on the court, but you're part of the action. You're controlling the tempo of a game. That's something to be said. You cannot ever take that away from the student athletes and their experience on the court. And I think that's what Belmar presented itself this past year. It was a very good event for our student athletes. The coaches spoke highly of it. The student athletes they really enjoyed it from all my feedback that I've received. And then as we looked at other venues, Toyota Center, as stated, was a great venue for basketball, but it was hard to fill up. It's an NBA venue that holds well over 20,000 people. With any college basketball event, if you look at it across the board from a Division I standpoint, it's tough to fill up that type of event and make it into the atmosphere that you truly want it to be. And so going to a more intimate venue, staying away from the horde of smaller, but more intimate venue that fits for the size league and our typical attendance, I thought and I think that a 5 to 7 or even 8,000 seat venue would work best for us. It comes down to, like we talked about, the perfect location, the engagement of the community to get folks out there. So if we grow it to where it can be grown to, all 10 schools potentially being represented, that's a decision that's going to have to be made from our league as the athletic directors, recommend that up to our presidents and chancellors for that. But the current format works for us. We have the top 8 teams start their run for the SWAC men's and women's basketball tournament. The first round contests are held that Tuesday prior to that Friday semis and Saturday final format at a neutral site. It takes place on campus. And I think just from the feedback I received over the past year and a half, that format has worked very well for our administration. It gives them another opportunity from a branding standpoint on their own campus prior to their teams heading to the neutral site for the semifinals and finals.
Okay, very good. And I like to play devil's advocate every now and then, so here comes a devil advocate's moment. Now, with that being said, and we talked about the planning, and we talked about where the locations would be at for your championship venues, wouldn't it be slightly more organizable if I already know that this is where we're going to start our tournament, instead of I might have to go to Texas or I might have to go to Alabama? I have flights on standby, which all these things cost money and time. If I just meet me in Alabama, I almost said St. Louis, that's where I'm from, but meet me in Alabama and let's get it on. And that way you can, I know the atmosphere of being on that home campus is great, it's awesome, but it's also great to do road trips. And let's go out here and celebrate our schools, because we all know where we're going to be when the dust settles.
You know, that is a one mindset as it relates to getting teams and fans to rally behind their teams. And there's a certain aspect of it. If you leave it that format, you take away another aspect in terms of the control of the student athletes and the coaches to really set the stage. That gives them something to fight for. So not only are they fighting to go to the tournament, but if you allow all 10 to go to a tournament, it's just going into your question of playing devil's advocate, just another way of looking at it. If you allow all 10 to go, that push throughout the season, it's not as really heartfelt per se for the teams and coaches. They're always playing their hearts out trying to get in contention for the top spot. But when you have an opportunity under the current format to really compete on your campus, your own campus, in front of your student body and in your community, the road to the SWAC basketball tournament semifinals and finals, I believe, means that much more to these student athletes and coaches, because they control their own destiny. And then they have an opportunity to lay their stamp and then really ride the high horse, per se, into the semifinals and finals. So whether that top 8 team is going and having to go travel to a home site of a visiting opponent in the SWAC, they have that opportunity as a visiting team to upset and then take their win onto the neutral site, which would be Birmingham this year. So there's a couple ways of looking at it, and again, perspective in terms of how you see it, whether it's the on-campus format or just the all 10 go to the same site. There's different ways of looking at it. So at the end of the day, it's our student athletes and our coaches that are competing for those spots, and we're just going to try to celebrate them and make sure that they know that we're going to do our best to put on a quality event for them.
Well, point very well taken, sir. As I've stated throughout this interview, you're handling yourself quite well. Now, brother, as I get ready to allow this segment to come to an end, I want you to do 2 things for me. Number one, I want you to share something that not many people know about brother Edgar Gantt. And then I want you to have some closing thoughts and comments for us as we get ready to bring this segment towards an end.
Put me on the spot, Mike, once again.
Hey, that's part of my job, right?
Definitely. So, 2 things about me that many people would not know. I think many of our student athletes and a lot of our Olympic sports, they figured it out. I have a love of photography. So it's not uncommon for you to see me at a championship event taking pictures of our student athletes and coaches competing and capturing the moment. And that's something that I truly enjoy. That's just an added bonus of working in athletics, is being able to be a part of those moments and capture those memories for our student athletes and coaches. The other part is about me, trying to make it a fun fact. I guess I enjoy, besides working athletics and getting to do different things and put on these quality events for our student athletes, I truly enjoy going and working events. And I think that's a part of, I like being hands-on. So if you know me, you know that I'm hands-on with things. It's not uncommon for me to show up to an event or practice, shoot around, whatever it might be, a couple of days before, just to lay the foundation and set up the venue and just be a part of the details. I think that's something that I enjoy in terms of being able to put on that quality event for our student athletes and our coaches. So my enjoyment purely comes out of, one, it's my selfish nature of loving photography, but two, also being able to control and put on some of many of the quality events and experiences that our student athletes and coaches and fans will be a part of. I would say, our league, as we go to celebrating our centennial within the next year and a half, this is an exciting time for our league. Someone asked during football media days kind of where we are as a conference in terms of how do we sit. And I think we're in a good spot. We are in a transitional period, which change is always hard for many people, but we're in a good spot. We have a lot of upside to us. The potential that we have to really expand who we are, branding, exposure to the world of SWAC, we're only getting better. We have a lot of good administrators, athletic directors, presidents, and chancellors that are really casting the vision on their own campus, and then all those visions and those created opportunities that are taking place on campus really make the SWAC who we are. And so at the end of the day, we are celebrating ourselves. We're giving the best SWAC that we can to our student athletes, our coaches, and our students on campus. And I think that's something that we have a tremendous upside to on a positive note.
Well, with that being said, we want to thank you very much for making yourself available. He is Edgar Gantt, interim commissioner for the Southwestern Athletic Conference. I am the radio guy, the Dr. Mike Prince.